I'd be remiss if I didn't specifically point out that he said I'm the last of 10 kids, and I am. I was the last one born. My 4 brothers are passed away, Harvey, Jimmy, Jean, Quentin. But my 5 sisters are here. I want my 5 sisters to stand. So I'm standing here telling the story on behalf of us. These are 5 awesome ladies, and it speaks to my mom and dad because the love that they have for us, they've instilled in us as siblings and as their children, and there is nothing that could come between us. So I'm honored here to stand here today and talk to you about my parents, Alfonso and Mary Webb, and I'm going to give you some quotes describing experiences that they had right here in Johnson County. Likewise, I'm standing here on behalf of the men and women who lived bravely and fought danger with them at a time when racism here in Johnson County was prevalent. I'm specifically talking more about Merriam, Kansas, just north of here, and even more specifically an area known as South Park. Does anybody know where South Park Elementary School is? It's right there on the corner of Antioch and Merriam Lane. It is still there today. Once upon a time back in the 1900s, several black families lived in that area of town, and they all lived near each other. Their kids attended the Walker School, which was built in the 1880s. It's a small white building, and it was for the colored kids only. Black kids were supposed to attend that school, but not the white kids. The kids in that particular school, the teachers in that school, taught kids from the age of kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. And then after they left 8th grade, they went to Wyandotte County, Kansas, where they went to school. So yes, it is true, once upon a time here in America, that black kids and white kids were not allowed to attend the same school. They were not afforded the same opportunities in learning. And all of this is part of our American history. It is a fact. The thing is this, we cannot run from it. We can't hide from it. We can't pretend it didn't happen, or nor turn away from it and hope that it will just go away. And we can't sit on our hands now in these days and just hope that it all goes away and nobody does anything about it. Sometimes we sit here and people like to think, you know, that was such a long time ago. Why are we still talking about it? Why are we still hashing it out? That was yesteryear. I'm standing here talking to you today not about my granddad, not about my great-granddad or my great-great-granddad. I'm standing here talking to you about my father and my mother who went through this fight. Back in the 1940s, around World War II, right here in this county, a group of individuals got together and drew up school district boundaries for a newly built school. It was a modern-day school with indoor bathrooms, a furnace, and a school teacher for every grade level. It was the intent of the white families living in the boundaries of that school to keep the black kids out. These individuals carefully scripted new school district boundaries so that nothing but white families were inside its borders. They were carefully scripted that black children 3 blocks away from the school were outside the boundaries, but white kids who were 7 and 8 blocks away were somehow inside the boundaries. My mom and dad recall these same white children walking through their neighborhood from one side on the west to get to the school on the east side. In 1947, when all this was happening, my dad did not initially fight for diversity, but he did fight for equality, because at that time we had a thing, Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. And he was fighting for the equal rights of the black kids in the Walker School. But the school that the black kids were attending was an old building with a dirt floor in the basement, and the bathrooms were outside. There were 2 teachers that taught every kid in kindergarten through 8th grade. Meanwhile, a few blocks away, there was a brand new brick building with multiple classrooms, new books, new desks, new chairs, a playground, teachers for every grade level, a cafeteria, waiting for anyone and everyone that wasn't black. When my mom and dad brought my brothers to enroll them in the new school, I could only imagine what went through their minds or how they felt when they were turned away and told your kids will not be included in this school. Your kids and others that look like them will not be considered. My mom and dad took their argument before the school board at that time and asked a simple question. How is it all of our tax dollars help build this school in our neighborhood, but none of our children will be allowed to attend that school? My sister Mary, she wrote a paper for a college course back in 1977. Her paper was entitled Integration of Merriam Schools. In her paper, she interviewed my mom and dad and asked them about their struggles with the school board. And she quoted my dad, who recalled the threats made to him out loud and in public settings. At the time of her interview, my dad was probably, he was in his, right around 60, I think. But he was very specific with names and individuals who were involved in the hatred at that time. And he recalls them saying that Webb boy would be the first one hanging from a limb. My mom was scared, as any wife would be. I imagine my dad was scared too. People in the community called for my dad to stop causing trouble and accept the status quo. But my father stood his ground, and he was motivated by his mom, who told him, your dad would never back down from a fight, especially knowing that he was right. And when she told my dad that, he was motivated. He had even more fire and passion. So my dad helped to organize the first chapter of the NAACP right here in Johnson County. So as the president of the NAACP, he became a force to be reckoned with. So in the face of all the threats, the fear in the community, the calls to quit and to stop the pursuit for justice, there was a young white female living in Mission, Kansas at the time, and she saw my dad's plight. She believed in him, she believed in the cause, and she was brave enough to stand by him and help him see things through. And you probably know her name is Esther Brown. Imagine in your mind, if you will, my mom was probably 28 years old, and my dad was 30. Esther Brown was 30. So these are young people, literally half my age right now, who are fighting this fight in the midst of all the threats. But they were committed to the cause, thinking and believing justice would prevail. So the community meetings increased, but so did the death threats. My parents talked about the men that used to walk the streets in front of their meetings so that no harm would come to them. My sister recounts in her paper one particular meeting at South Park School. My dad was escorted by a white man named Art. My dad was there to speak to the crowd at the meetings and answer questions. But the thing is, he told them, at this particular point in time, the case has been turned over to lawyers, and it's all going to be handled in the courts. His statement angered those in attendance, and at that time they said, when he made those comments, they said, well, the meeting's over. And so this same guy, Art, took my dad by the arm, and he told the group of people in the room, he is leaving the meeting just like he came, and wasn't nobody going to hurt him. And then they walked him out the door of the school. But thanks to the relationship with Esther Brown and her ability to open new doors and get into new places that my father could not, New lawyers were hired, and the NAACP, the national NAACP organization, joined the fight to support the case Webb versus School District 90. The matter was argued locally in courts, some in Mission, some in Olathe, before it was taken up in the state Supreme Court in Topeka. I would have loved to have been in the courtroom to hear the explanation as to how the school district boundaries were drawn and how they tried to explain the complexity of black kids and white kids living right next to each other, being assigned to different school districts. I can even say that I did not know what gerrymandering meant until I started studying this case. But the state Supreme Court wrote in their syllabus, in an action such as described in the first paragraph of this syllabus, it is held that the action of the school board in creating the attendance district within the district, as it did create, it was a subterfuge by which the board intended to and did segregate the white pupils from the colored pupils in the district. In addition, the court wrote this, in an action such as described in the first paragraph of this syllabus, the record is examined, and it is held that the action of the district board in creating an attendance district within the district itself and maintaining a schoolhouse therein had the effect of segregating the colored pupils from the white pupils and was unlawful. This judgment was handed down in June of 1949. And I want to tell you that that same South Park Elementary School is standing at the corner of Antioch and Merriam Lane. And that same Walker School is standing at 9420 West 50th Terrace. Driving by them, you wouldn't know the impact they have had in shaping this country's history. And I assume some of the same judges who were there in 1947 and rendered the case on behalf of my father as plaintiffs probably heard some of the same arguments from the Brown family before they went to the federal court, Supreme Court. So whether it was my parents, Mr. Brown, or people like Medgar Evers, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, and many others, the fight to be included, the fight for diversity, and the fight to be considered equal continues today. Here in the year 2025, it is clear, unfortunately, that racism is not dead. It is also clear some people would like to turn back the progress, the milestones we have made. But my pushback is this: before diversity, equity, and inclusion became a thing, my parents fought for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they won. My family's name is written in the history books of Merriam and Johnson County. The Webb family meeting room was dedicated to my parents' memory at the newly built Merriam Plaza Library in March of 2024. I stand here on their behalf and say thank you to the pioneers of this city and of this county for not letting their legacy die. And to all the men and women that have the courage and had the courage to stand by them when they were scared, confused, and overwhelmed. So I want to leave you with this. And I'm going to quote from the Bible. Some do, some don't, but I'm quoting from the Bible. In the book of Corinthians, it says, "Be steadfast and unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, which means be firmly committed to your faith, be unwavering in your dedication, and always strive to do the right thing for the right reason. And do it with enthusiasm. And I'm going to quote again from Philippians this time. And it's something that we should really think about in this climate that we're in today. And finally, brethren and sisters, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good rapport, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on those things. And order your steps according to that. If you're keeping that all in mind, together we will keep hope alive, and together we will overcome. Blessings to everyone here.